This video is about the unsung heroes of Europe's conflicts through time. Subscribe for more. The morning sun broke over the horizon, casting a golden hue on the bombed-out remnants of Berlin, a city still struggling to heal from the wounds of past conflicts. Amongst the rubble, Peter Weiss, a German war historian and former soldier, combed through the debris of his childhood neighborhood, seeking forgotten stories buried beneath layers of soot and dust. His heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. For years, he had chased whispers of a secret operation during World War I to a mission that could rewrite the history of the war, and more importantly, the legacies of the unsung heroes involved. In the shadows of the past, Sarah Cohen, an Israeli intelligence officer, arrived in Berlin. She had been tracking the remnants of a covert network known as the Silver Line, a group that had united American, German, and Israeli agents during the tumultuous days of the Cold War. A series of mysterious documents had led her to believe that the Silver Line had not only played a crucial role in a post-war period, but had also been instrumental in a plot to prevent a catastrophic war that could have reshaped Europe yet again. As Peter sifted through the ruins, he stumbled upon a charred crate marked with insignia of the Silver Line. His heart raced. This was the symbol of the group he had spent years researching. With trembling hands, he pried the crate open, revealing a trove of faded documents and photographs that detailed alliances forged in the shadows, friendships tested by betrayal, and sacrifices made that had long been forgotten. Each yellowing page echoed with the voices of those who had fought valiantly, often without recognition. Sarah, meanwhile, had secured access to intelligence archives and had begun piecing together the fragmented history of the Silver Line. She leaned over a dossier that contained photographs of individuals who had worked on the operation. Among them was a young American agent named Michael O'Reilly, who had infiltrated Nazi networks before the war, and an enigmatic German scientist, Dr. Augustine, who had risked her life to protect Jewish families during the Holocaust. Their stories were intertwined, and Sarah felt an overwhelming urge to uncover the truth behind their actions. As the morning slipped into afternoon, Peter's discovery led him to a hidden compartment, revealing a sealed letter addressed to the future guardians of peace. The letter spoke of an impending threat, warning of an alliance that could spell doom for Europe. The urgency of the message gripped him. The Silver Line had anticipated danger that was yet to unfold. He quickly transcribed the letter, his mind racing with the implications. What was this threat? Who were they warning against? Unbeknownst to both Peter and Sarah, the remnants of the Silver Line were still alive, existing in the shadows of a world that had long forgotten their contributions. They had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, and now, as tensions simmered once again in Europe, it was time for the truth to surface. Both Peter and Sarah were unwittingly drawing closer to a truth that could alter their understanding of history. As night fell over Berlin, Sarah navigated her way through the bustling streets, her mind replaying the horrors of past conflicts. The echoes of gunfire and cries of anguish haunted her dreams, pushing her to uncover the stories of those who fought not for recognition, but for hope that future generations might thrive in peace. A sudden thought struck her. If the Silver Line had foreseen conflict, then perhaps the remnants of the group were still operational. Could they be in danger? Meanwhile, Peter met with an old war comrade, Hans Becker, who had served alongside him during the German reunification. Hans had connections to a clandestine group that had once been involved with the Silver Line. As they sat in a dimly lit pub, Peter shared his discoveries, igniting Hans's interests. UV stumbled onto something monumental. Peter, Hans said, a mix of excitement and concern flickering in his eyes. The Silver Line was not just a network, it was a lifeline. Peter leaned in closer, the urgency of their conversation drawing the attention of a nearby table. What do you know about them? Where can we find the rest of the members? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Hans hesitated, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily in the air. They went underground after the war. Some were disillusioned, others fearful. But there are whispers, Peter whispers of a reunion. The prospect electrified Peter's imagination. If he could locate the remaining members of the Silver Line, they might shed light on the letter's ominous warnings. But as he and Hans discussed their next steps, a figure lurked outside the window, watching with keen interest. A soft click echoed as a camera shutter captured their every move. Back in her hotel room, Sarah examined the photographs of the Silver Line operatives. One photo, in particular, intrigued her. It was a candid shot of Michael O'Reilly with Dr. Augustine, both laughing amidst the backdrop of war-torn Europe. Their smiles were disarming, radiating a bond that hinted at shared purpose. As she reached for her phone to gather more intel, the room plunged into darkness. A power outage. Panic surged as she fumbled for her flashlight, illuminating a briefcase she hadn't even noticed before. It sat ominously in a corner, its lock secured tight. Could it hold answers to the questions she sought? She approached cautiously, her instincts urging her to tread carefully. Just as she reached for the case, a loud knock echoed against the door, sending a jolt through her spine. The gruff voice called from the hallway. "Open up, we need to talk." With her heart racing, she weighed her options. Trusting anyone in her line of work was dangerous, but the urgency of the situation compelled her to comply. She opened the door slightly, peering out to find a man in a dark trench coat, his face obscured by shadows. "You re-looking into the silver line, aren't you?" he asked, his tone a mixture of warning and urgency. Meanwhile, Peter and Hans left the pub, a sense of purpose driving them forward. They were unaware of the eyes watching from a distance, lurking in the shadows of the city. The quest for truth about the silver line had begun, but with it came the realization that they weren't the only ones interested in the past. As they hurried down the street, Peter's mind raced with the possibilities ahead. "We have to find out who else is involved. If the silver line knew of a future threat, we need to understand it before it unfolds," he said, determination in his voice. But just as they turned a corner, the alleyway erupted into chaos. Shadows materialized, and a group of masked figures blocked their path, weapons glinting ominously in the dim light. Peter and Hans exchanged glances, their hearts pounding. "Stop right there," one of the figures commanded. With no means of escape, Peter felt adrenaline surge through him. The hunt for the silver line had awakened old ghosts, and now the past was crashing back with a vengeance. What secrets lay in wait within the shadows of history? The answers would not come easily, but one thing was clear. The legacy of the silver line was about to be unearthed, and the consequences would ripple through time, threatening to reshape not just the understanding of a war long past, but the future of Europe itself. And as the confrontation loomed, a deeper truth began to unfurl, one that would intertwine the fates of America, Germany, Israel, and Europe, igniting a danger they could not yet comprehend. Who would emerge as the true unsung heroes in this saga, and what legacy would they leave behind? A tension-filled silence enveloped the alley as Peter and Hans faced the masked figures, their weapons aimed with menacing precision. The shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own, and Peter's mind raced as he tried to discern their intentions. He had heard of clandestine groups that thrived on fringes of history, but nothing prepared him for this moment. Hans stepped forward, attempting to negotiate. "We mean no harm," he said, his voice steady despite the rising stakes. "We were merely looking for information about the silver line." One of the masked figures chuckled darkly, his breath visible in the chilly air. "Information, how? It is not information you seek. It is the truth that is buried, and those who seek it often end up in graves." The threat hung heavy between them, slicing through the cold night like a dagger. In the depths of Berlin, Sarah stood frozen at her hotel door, the stranger-esque warning reverberating in her mind. She opened the door slightly, her instincts pulling her toward the enigma that loomed before her. "What do you know about the silver line?" she demanded, her voice firm yet laced with urgency. The man stepped into the light, revealing a weathered face with deep-set eyes that spoke of experience and survival. "Everything you're looking for is dangerous," he replied. "The silver line was about preserving peace, but peace is a fragile thing. You've stumbled into a game that has never ended." With a shiver of apprehension, Sarah took a step back. "Who are you, and why should I trust you?" "I am someone who knows the price of silence," he said, glancing around as if the walls themselves had ears. "I was part of the silver line, and they are watching you. You need to move, now." Back in the alley, Peter and Hans felt the tension snap like a taut wire. "We don't want any trouble. We just want the truth," Peter said, his voice rising above the threatening silence. The masked figures exchanged glances, and a moment of indecision hung in the air until one stepped forward, lowering his weapon slightly. "You want the truth? Then come with us. But be warned, once you dive into this, there is no turning back." Peter hesitated, instinctively knowing they were about to cross a line he could never uncross. But curiosity and the weight of history drove him forward. "We'll all come," he said, his heart pounding in his chest. "Good choice," the masked figure replied, gesturing for them to follow. As they moved deeper into the shadows, Peter's mind whirled with questions. Who were these people? And what did they know about the silver line that could change everything? Sarah moved swiftly, her instincts sharp as she gathered her belongings, her mind racing. She needed information, but more than that, she had to ensure her safety. As she flung open the window and climbed out onto the fire escape, the stranger's words echoed in her thoughts. She had to find the remnants of the silver line before it was too late. Navigating the narrow ledge, she descended into the night, her heart racing as she thought of Peter. They were both dancing with the ghosts of history, but they couldn't afford to be caught. The stakes were too high. She recalled the letter she had uncovered detailing the covert operations and risks taken by the agents of the Silver Line. The knowledge they held could eliminate paths to peace or ignite the flames of conflict once more. As she hit the ground, she spotted a shadow moving in the distance, a silhouette that sent her pulse racing. She ducked behind a nearby car, her breath shallow. She peered around the corner. Nothing prepared Peter and Hans for the underground hideout where the masked figures led them. Dim light flickered from a series of old, rusted lamps, casting shadows that danced ominously on the concrete walls. The air felt thick with history, the weight of unspoken secrets hanging like a fog. "Welcome to the truth," the lead figure said, lowering his mask to reveal a familiar face that sparked recognition in Peter. "I am Lucas, and I was part of the Silver Line. We've even waiting for someone to come along." Peter's mind raced. He had read about Lucas in the archives, an agent whose bravery had remained hidden in the annals of history. "You've been watching us?" he asked, incredulity creeping into his voice. "We didn't want to interfere, but your search has drawn attention," Lucas replied. "There are forces out there, still fighting a war that ended long ago, and they will stop at nothing to silence the truth about the Silver Line." Hans stepped forward, eyeing the group gathered around them. "What do you mean? What is the threat?" Lucas glanced at his comrades before responding. "We gathered intelligence, formed alliances, and, more crucially, we made sacrifices. But after the war, we were hunted. Many went into hiding, and a new war was born, one fought in silence. The battles waged in the shadows of Berlin were more than just historical footnotes. They were the remnants of a struggle that continued to this day." "What did you see?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "We saw the rise of factions that sought to dismantle the fragile peace we fought for, and we've kept watch ever since, waiting for the right moment to act," Lucas said, his expression grave. "But now, someone is drawing near to uncover our truth, and they will do anything to stop you." Meanwhile, Sarah moved cautiously through the darkened streets, her senses heightened. She had to find answers before the night swallowed her whole. A flicker of light caught her eye, illuminating the entrance of an abandoned warehouse. Memories flooded her mind as she recalled the many clandestine meetings the Silver Line once held there. Pushing aside the creeping dread, she approached the doorway, her heart pounding. Inside, shadows shifted as a figure emerged, revealing a familiar face. "Sarah," Michael O'Reilly said, his voice low yet urgent. "We have little time. You need to know what is at stake." In that moment of recognition surged between them. Michael had once been a key player in the Silver Lion's mission, his influence extending beyond borders and ideologies. "You are alive," she exclaimed, a wave of relief washing over her. Michael's eyes narrowed, the weight of history heavy on his shoulders. "The Silver Line is more than a network, it is a legacy. We've gathered intel on a conspiracy that could reignite the flames of war in Europe. And now, they were coming for us." As adrenaline coursed through Sarah's veins, she realized that the truth she sought wasn't just a story, it was a fight for survival, a battle against forces that thrived on chaos. "We have to find the others," she said, determination hardening her resolve. Back in the underground hideout, Peter felt a surge of urgency as Lucas continued. "You need to understand the past if you want to prevent the future. The Silver Lion's mission was never truly over. And now the clock is ticking." With the weight of history pressing in on him, Peter nodded. "Then let us finish what was started. Let us uncover the truth and protect the future. We can't let the sacrifices of those who came before us be in vain." As Lucas prepared to share more about the Silver Line, a distant sound echoed in the hollow, harsh, metallic crash that sent shockwaves through the group. The masked figures exchanged alarmed glances, and Lucas's gaze sharpened. With urgency coursing through their veins, Peter and Hans exchanged glances, realizing their pursuit of the truth had unleashed a storm that could engulf them all. The legacy of the Silver Line had awakened dangers that threatened to swallow them whole. Outside, Sarah and Michael were thrust into their own chaos as sirens played in the distance, shadows converging toward the warehouse. "We have to move," Michael shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm. The pieces of their intertwined fate began to align, each moment propelling them toward an inevitable confrontation with the truth. History was alive around them, echoing with voices of the past, and now the present was colliding with forces that could no longer be ignored. As the chaos intensified, Peter, Hans, Sarah, and Michael found themselves racing against time, each battling their demons while uncovering secrets buried beneath the rubble of war. The unsung heroes of Europe were rising, but with every step forward, the threat grew closer. And in that moment of reckoning, the shadows of history beckoned, whispering promises of truth and peril in equal measure. What would they discover next? And who would ultimately emerge as the true guardian of peace in this unfolding saga? The destinies intertwined, they would soon find out as the clock ticked ominously toward a confrontation that could change everything. Peter, Hans, and Lucas moved swiftly through the underground hideout as the metallic crash echoed again, reverberating off the walls like a death knell. Tension hung thick in the air, a tangible reminder that their search for truth had unleashed forces eager to silence them. Outside, shouts filled the air, the unmistakable sounds of footsteps drawing near, heavy with intent. Lucas hissed, urgency flaring in his eyes. "We need to split up. Get to the safe house. I'll hold them off." Peter looked to Hans, both men aware that hesitation could spell disaster. "We can't leave you behind," Peter urged. Lucas shook his head, determination hardening his features. "You must uncover the truth. The world needs to know what the Silver Lion stood for. If I am captured, I can help you." Before Peter could argue further, a loud crash at the door sent them into motion. Lucas shouted, pushing them toward a hidden exit. They stumbled into a narrow corridor that led to a series of tunnels beneath the city. Hans took the lead, his familiarity with the underground pathway serving as their guide. Peter followed closely, his mind racing with the urgency of their mission. The stakes had never been higher. They were not just after historical truth anymore, they were in a fight for survival. Meanwhile, Sarah and Michael dashed through the streets, their hearts pounding as they evaded the encroaching chaos. Sirens wailed, merging with the echo of footsteps that followed them closely. "We have to find a place to regroup," Sarah urged, her breath coming quick. Michael nodded, scanning their surroundings. There's an old library nearby, used to be a meeting point for the Silver Line. We might find some answers there. They slipped into an alley, pressing their backs against the cool stone wall as they listened for the sounds of pursuit. The distant clamor of sirens and shouting reverberated through the air, a reminder of the danger that loomed. "We can let them get close," Michael said, his expression serious. "They know about the Silver Line, and they'll do anything to suppress the truth." Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "What do you think they want?" "A power," Michael replied, his voice low. "They want to control the narrative. If they can erase the legacy of the Silver Line, they can manipulate the future." As they made their way toward the library, Sarah's mind raced, piecing together what she had learned about the Silver Line. It was more than just a network of spies, it was a lifeline forged in the heat of crisis. And now, its echoes resonated through time, weaving an intricate tapestry of alliances that could save Europe from descending into chaos once more. Back in the dim tunnels beneath Berlin, Peter, Hans, and Lucas pressed on, the flickering lights casting long shadows across the damp walls. They reached a crossroads, and Lucas paused, his intuition guiding him. "This way," he said, gesturing down a narrow passage. "The safe house is just ahead." As they moved deeper into the labyrinth, the sound of pursuing footsteps grew faint, replaced by the muffled whispers of history that hung in the air. Peter's mind was consumed by thoughts of the letter he had discovered, the ominous warning about a future threat. "What if we don't uncover this in time?" he asked, fear tinging his voice. "Then we risk repeating the past," Lucas replied, his expression grave. "The Silver Line was meant to protect against extremism. If those ideologies rise again, Europe will pay the price." Hans, who had been quietly processing their situation, spoke up. "They could provide insight into what we're facing. And many of them have gone into hiding out of fear," Lucas said, his shoulders sagging under the weight of regret. "But some still remain. They were waiting for someone brave enough to reach out." Just then, Peter caught sight of a faint glow ahead, a sign of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. He exclaimed, pointing down the tunnel. They hurried toward the light, and as they emerged into a small room, the sight that greeted them took their breath away. The walls were lined with old photographs and artifacts, remnants of the Silver Lion's storied past. Maps dotted with locations of past operations, medals of honor, and newspaper clippings chronicling their efforts filled the space, whispering tales of camaraderie and courage. Peter stepped closer to one of the maps, his heart racing as he traced the lines with his fingers. This could lead us to the other members, he realized. Lucas approached and nodded, his gaze scanning the room. "Yes, but we need to move quickly. If they find us here," before he could finish, a loud crash echoed from the entrance they had just come through. The three men turned, adrenaline surging as masked figures poured into the room, guns drawn. Meanwhile, in the library, Sarah and Michael rifled through stacks of old documents, the musty smell of forgotten knowledge filling the air. These files might contain information about the Silver Lion's operations, Sarah said, her hands shaking with anticipation. As they searched, Michael's keen eyes fell upon a thick leather-bound book, its spine cracked and worn. This could be significant, he said, flipping through the pages. It details the missions we undertook, who we worked with, the threats we faced. Just then, the sounds of chaos erupted outside, the unmistakable thud of boots growing closer. "We need to hurry," Sarah urged, her heart racing. "We can't leave empty-handed," Michael replied, urgency lacing his tone. "These records are vital." They continued to sift through the documents, their minds racing with the implications of what they were uncovering. But as the noise outside intensified, their window of safety began to close. Back in the hidden room, Peter, Hans, and Lucas prepared to defend themselves as the masked figures advanced. "We won't go down without a fight," Peter said, determination igniting within him. "Stay behind me," Lucas instructed, stepping forward as the leader of the masked group raised his weapon. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Fear flickered in the eyes of the masked figure, but he held his ground. "You in over your heads. The past should stay buried." In that charged moment, Peter felt the weight of history pressing down upon him. "No," he said, stepping forward beside Lucas. "The past is alive, and we need to confront it. The truth is worth fighting for." With a sudden rush, the confrontation escalated into chaos, each party vying for control over the truth they so desperately sought. Outside, the tension in the streets continued to rise as Sarah and Michael felt the tremors of impending conflict. "Let us get out of here," Sarah urged, clutching Michael's arm. "We can't let them erase our history." "They're right," he agreed, tucking the precious documents under his arm. "We need to regroup with Peter and Hans. They'll need this information." As they slipped out of the library, the shadows of the past loomed large, intertwining their fates in a tapestry of conflict and revelation. The streets of Berlin pulsed with a strange energy, a reminder of the battles fought and those yet to come. With every heartbeat, history sang its song, echoing through the alleys and tunnels, pulling them toward a confrontation that would determine the future of Europe. The remnants of the Silver Line were awakening, the truths buried deep in the rubble calling out for justice, and the unsung heroes of war were ready to rise once more. As Peter, Hans, and Lucas prepared to face the masked figures, and Sarah and Michael rushed toward their rendezvous, the past and present collided in a whirlwind of danger and revelation. The countdown to a confrontation that could change everything had begun. What awaited them in the shadows, and who would emerge from the chaos as the true guardians of peace? As the tension tightened like a noose, the answers lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered in the heart of Europe's war-torn legacy. The air crackled with tension as the masked figures moved closer, their weapons aimed with unwavering determination. Peter, Hans, and Lucas stood resolute, adrenaline surging through their veins as they prepared for the inevitable clash. They had come too far to turn back now. The truth of the Silver Line awaited them, buried beneath layers of history and secrecy. "Stay behind me," Lucas urged, stepping forward to confront the looming threat. His voice rang with authority, the years of experience etched into the lines of his face. "You don't understand what you're doing." The lead figure, a tall man with an intimidating presence, cocked his head, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "And what makes you think we care? You're meddling in affairs far beyond your comprehension. The Silver Lion is a ghost, and ghosts should remain buried." If Peter felt the weight of history pressing upon him. "No, it is not just a ghost. It is a legacy, a lifeline forged in the flames of conflict. We were not just uncovering the past, we were trying to protect our future." His voice rang with conviction, the urgency of their mission igniting a fire within him. "What future?" The masked leader scoffed, taking a step closer. "The organizations you served, the alliances you forged, none of it matters anymore." As the tension thickened, Hans, channeling his military training, took a step forward. "We want to let you erase the sacrifices made by those who fought for peace," he said, his voice steady. "You were on the wrong side of history." The masked figures shifted, their resolve faltering as they glanced at each other, but the lead figure straightened, a grim determination returning to his gaze. "You've already lost. You'll never leave this place." The standoff reached a breaking point, and just as the first masked figure raised his weapon, a deafening explosion echoed from the tunnel's entrance. The sound reverberated through the walls, sending the masked figures reeling in shock. Peter seized the moment, adrenaline driving him forward as he lunged at the nearest masked figure, tackling him to the ground. Chaos erupted as fists flew and voices rose in anger. Lucas fought valiantly, his years of experience fueling his movements, while hands expertly defended Peter's back, ensuring they didn't become overwhelmed. Each blow exchanged was not just a fight for survival, it was a battle to reclaim the truth they had come to seek. In the midst of the chaos, another explosion roared through the tunnel, shattering the cacophony of shouting voices. Dust and debris rained down as the walls trembled, and Peter barely registered the cries of alarm from the masked figures. He shouted, adrenaline coursing through him as the ground shook beneath their feet. Lucas nodded, urgency shining in his eyes. They fought their way toward the narrow passage they had come through, their bodies moving instinctively, driven by the need to escape. Meanwhile, Sarah and Michael sprinted through the dimly lit streets, their hearts racing as they evaded the chaos that enveloped them. The sounds of the city echoed around them, sirens blaring, people shouting, and the unmistakable tension of a city teetering on the brink. Michael called, spotting a narrow alleyway that led to a series of old warehouses. They ducked into the shadows, their breaths coming in ragged gasps as they pressed their backs against the cool brick. "Do you think they found Peter and Hans?" Sarah asked, her eyes dotting nervously as they listened for any signs of pursuit. "We can worry about that now," Michael replied, scanning the area. "We need to focus on what we uncovered in the library. The records we found could be the key to stopping whatever's brewing." Sarah nodded, determination flooding her veins. "The Silver Lioness legacy is at stake. If we can gather enough evidence, we might be able to expose the truth." As they moved deeper into the alley, Sarah thought of the faces captured in those faded photographs, a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who fought for a peace they believed in. As Peter, Hans, and Lucas emerged from the tunnel, the night air hit them like a wall. The chaos of the outside world crashed against them, the sounds of conflict echoing in the distance. They moved quickly, urgency driving them to reach a nearby van parked at the curb. "We need to find Sarah and Michael," Peter said, glancing at Lucas, who nodded in agreement. They could be in danger. As they piled into the van, Peter glanced back at the entrance to the tunnel, the echoes of the past still lingering in the air. "What about the masked figures?" he asked, concern tightening his chest. "They are our group," Lucas replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. "But we have to focus on what's ahead. We need to regroup with Sarah and Michael and plan our next move." Just then, a distant rumble of thunder echoed overhead, casting an ominous shadow over the tense atmosphere. Peter gripped the steering wheel, his heart racing as he maneuvered the van through the winding streets of Berlin. "We'll find them. We have to." Meanwhile, Sarah and Michael had found a temporary refuge in a forgotten warehouse, its dusty interior filled with the remnants of a bygone era. The shadows danced around them, and Sarah felt the weight of the mission pressing heavily on her shoulders. "They were coming for us," Michael said, his voice low and determined. "And we need to be ready." He flipped through the documents they had salvaged from the library, piecing together the intricate web of connections that defined the Silver Line. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a detailed map filled with markings. "These locations highlight key operations we undertook during the war. If we can pinpoint where the remaining members of the Silver Line are hiding, we can reach out for help." But as they plotted their next move, their momentary peace shattered as the sound of footsteps echoed outside the warehouse. The shadows shifted ominously, and they exchanged worried glances. "They've found us," Sarah whispered. "Get ready," Michael said, his voice steady. "We can let them silence us." They prepared themselves, adrenaline surging as they positioned themselves defensively, knowing they had to fight for their mission, for the legacies of the heroes they sought to honor. Just as the door to the warehouse burst open, Peter, Hans, and Lucas charged in, their faces a mix of determination and urgency. "Sarah, Michael," Peter called, relief flooding through him as he spotted them, alive and ready to fight. Sarah exclaimed, rushing toward him. "We were just about to, not now. We need to move," Peter interrupted, glancing back at the doorway as shadows loomed ominously outside. "We were not safe here." As they grouped, Sarah quickly shared the information they had gathered. "We need to find the remaining members of the Silver Line. They can help us expose the truth." Lucas nodded, his expression grave. If they were still alive, they might hold the key to preventing a new conflict. The legacy of the Silver Line must not be forgotten. "Though we've got to act fast," Hans added, urgency lacing his voice. "Every moment we delay is another moment for those who want to bury the past." Determined, the group began to devise a plan. They would reach out to the remaining operatives, using the connections they had uncovered to rally support. The fight for truth transcended borders, intertwining the fates of America, Germany, Israel, and Europe in a symphony of shared history. As they moved toward the exit, the weight of their mission hung in the air, a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who had come before them. "No more hiding," Michael declared, steeling himself for the fight ahead. "The truth deserves to be told." With resolve ignited within them, they stepped into the night, their paths intertwined in a relentless pursuit of justice. Each moment carried the echoes of history, urging them forward as they sought to reclaim the legacy of the Silver Lion. As dawn broke over Berlin, a new day began, a day filled with the possibility of redemption and revelation. Armed with knowledge and an unyielding spirit, they set out to honor the unsung heroes of Europe's conflicts, determined to write a new chapter in the annals of history, where the truth would shine brighter than ever before. The past was alive within them, and the legacy of the Silver Lion would not be forgotten.